In this video, I'm going to talk through the best performing patient buying journeys for dental clinics across our entire client base at the moment. Quick one, if you don't know who I am, I'm Raj Sana, founder and MD of Vitara Digital. We work with private healthcare clinics across the UK, from dental and aesthetics to private GPs and fertility clinics. I've previously grown a business from 800k to 3.6 million before it was acquired. I've built a sales team of 5 from scratch that sold anywhere between 1,000 to 250,000 in high ticket B2B sales. And I've spent over £1 million in ads, generating over £10 million in return. The Vitara team have over a decade of healthcare experience, and so we take that experience along with the corporate energy and startup experience into private healthcare clinics for our clients. And they've achieved results like a £17,000 return from a £1,000 ad spend in just 4 weeks. And our largest dental client, whom we've been working for over 12 months now, has generated over £6 million using our system. We're a sales and growth partner or consultant for your clinic, not another marketing agency. Getting leads is simple, but we want full accountability until the patient is sitting in your chair. Let's get into why seeing the full 360 picture of a patient buying journey is crucial for setting your clinic's marketing strategy, and how you can execute it so your bottom line grows and your clinic becomes the best in the local area. Okay, so before I start, let's talk about what a patient buying journey actually is. The patient buying journey is everything from your ads to when a potential patient sits in your chair. This includes the content they see, this includes the ad copy they engage with, the booking process they come through, and the sales call. And finally, it's the clinician delivering the treatment plan. Clinic owners often mention different components of the marketing journey like content and ad copy, but with the bad practices across the agency space, these owners have been scarred into siloing these agencies as marketers only, included in this part, and often have on again, off again experiences with them because you need marketing to grow your clinic, and so it's a catch-22. So going into the best patient buying journey for dental clinics, let's start with the ads on the front end, and the job of the ad is to get the click. That's the most important thing. Now, I've spoken about the messaging funnel on pretty much every single one of my videos, and it's so crucial for setting up your content strategy. You have the top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. The top of funnel is your broad awareness, and this grabs patients that are potentially looking for your solution, but it grows your brand out wide, it builds the trust, and this can be engaging content that you have on your Instagram at the moment. It can be quizzes, questions about certain treatments. It's just to cast your net wide as possible. Then you start to move into the middle of funnel, and this is where you start to educate your patients. So why is it that Invisalign is so great for crooked smiles? And what does a similar story look like for other patients in their situation? You're talking to their specific wants and their specific pains here, and you're establishing yourself as the authority in this space. Then we move on to the bottom of funnel, and this is typically where only 3% of the audience is ever at. And for that reason, it can be expensive if you're only marketing down here. So as a result, you want to be having content that speaks top of funnel, middle of funnel, and the bottom of funnel. Now, the bottom of funnel, for example, are the patients that are sitting on the fence. They think they need this. They're considering it. They want to commit, but they haven't been given that final nudge over to commit and leave their contact details. And so you need to be building an offer that is suitable for cold traffic so they can engage with your clinic and to leave their contact details so you can then obviously book them in as paying patients. So if we consider the funnel to be the strategic piece and the framework, let's look at some examples of creatives that are working quite well. So we split our campaigns, so it's 80% into winning creatives that we know work and 20% into testing creatives that will eventually fuel the winning campaigns at a later date. And I'll talk through why in a moment. But typically good creatives we found works quite well. So for Invisalign, it's images of the dental clinic outside, it's the team, it's the associates, it's a clear offer of what the Invisalign entails. It might have free whitening associated for it, for example, videos of patient testimonials, the associate talking through the process, and if it's an open day, the associate talking through the open day. And as I mentioned straight off the bat, we know what works and we can do that straight away. But throughout the process, we are constantly testing new creatives and new ideas, so eventually we can start identifying which winners are working. We then put those into a scaling campaign that has more budgets and is pushed even further. So even though we know what creatives work initially, every clinic is different, every local area is different, and eventually what we'll need to do is to identify new winners to put into a scaling campaign. Once they're there, we're then testing new ideas. It's a continuous cycle to ensure that no creative fatigues and no creative dies at too early. So that's the creative on the front end. Now we'll go into the ad copy. So the ad copy needs to speak to age, demographic, pain points, and treatments. On screen, you'll see a large document that we have with over 50 different ad copies. It all varies depending on the age demographics. As I said, different pain points. So crooked smile for Invisalign. It could be price for Invisalign. It could be a wedding or urgency angle. It could be a Invisalign v braces messaging angle, for example. So all these different things, we've got a copy bank full of them, and we've got them across all the treatments at the bottom. So we've got what braces look like, we've got what Invisalign looks like, and we've also got what implants look like. And as you can see, we labeled them cold and retargeting. So cold is just general awareness. Retargeting is more going back to the messaging funnel. It's more your bottom of funnel. So it's targeting the people that are considering it. An example of the ad copy looks like this. So it's a catch statement at the top. It's 3 withouts that speak to pain. So without silver wires, without food getting stuck behind your metal brackets. And then you talk through what the offer is. So perhaps an offer could be free whitening after your Invisalign treatment, free consultation. That's what an offer is. It's not based on value. It's not 50% off Invisalign for June. We'll help you create that offer. We, again, know what works quite well, and we want to be making sure we can go and market a strong offer straight off the bat. This is how the ad copy is set up. As I said, we've got a bank of over 50 of those, and these are matched to what the ad creatives are on the front. If it is a case of the clinic being outside, we then explicitly state, hey, West London, and it's a dental studio in West London, for example. And by the way, I know with the emojis, they seem like overkill, but we found with the Gen Z audience, they engage really well with the emojis, and with later age demographics, there's less emoji, it's more concise language. So you need to have these different ad copies. I speak to different ages as well. It's crucial. Tailor your ads accordingly. Now that's the ad, and we're then moving into what happens after someone clicks the ad. Where do they go? So we would always recommend setting up a landing page. If you're using lead forms, the one action is from this video, please switch to a landing page, a purpose-built landing page, because you can then start monitoring what traffic comes in, and you can start adding heat maps to it to understand how far people go down the landing page, so you can optimize further as well. And you have a lot more flexibility with the landing page. Biggest thing with the landing page and the ad copy is they need to be speaking the same language. So we'll be pulling the service headline, which is Invisalign. The ad headline comes from the ad copy. So it might look like a free consultation, if that's what this specific angle is about. If it's a braces comparison, it might sound something like avoid braces, choose Invisalign instead. So the landing page and the service headline, it just reinforces what's on the ad copy itself. I missed the logo part, but you have your brand logo on there, and that when clicked redirects back to this landing page. You don't want your service menu at the top, a navigation bar, because your cold traffic will start disappearing all over the website, and we don't want that. We want to keep this funnel as tight and as engineered as possible so they book and leave their details. Now, friendly image, we don't want this image to take up too much valuable real estate on the hero section, so we want to make sure this isn't too large. The 3 USPs that we have are just reinstating what the offer is, and that's the 3 offer items from the beginning here, which is in the ad copy. Again, the language between these two needs to be talking the same thing. So it's just reinstating what the offer is and pulling it from the ad. If you imagine you clicking an ad and the ad promises you an apple, but you land on the landing page and it gives you an orange, you're not going to check out and buy an apple, or rather an orange, right? You're going to stick with the apple. So advertise apples and promise them apples in a really simple way. And then after you've reinstated your offer, you've got your CTA, which is telling them exactly what the next step is. So it's not book now or learn more. It's literally book a free consultation. So they are explicitly aware of what clicking that button will achieve. Further down, you can have social proof. You can start to talk about what the process is like, who your associate is, what their background is. That's all great stuff. And you know, maybe 10-15% of that traffic will scroll further than the hero section, which is this section here, and have a look further down, but it's not necessary. This needs to be the most concise section of your landing page, and it's also what you need to be monitoring on an ongoing basis. We then go into what happens after they leave their contact details, and in month 1 we always suggest just a really simple contact form. The reason for this is so that we can start building up the data as quickly as possible. We can start getting your sales rep, your TCO, your VCO, whoever they are, your reception team on sales calls, so they can start understanding the type of patient that's coming through. The secondary benefit is the Metapixel starts to understand who is clicking that, leaving their details, and therefore will find more of those type of people, because at the end of the day, Meta wants you to spend money. If you've told them the objective is to get these contact details. Meta will go out and find those for you. So this is how month one we typically set up the contact form for cold traffic. From month two onwards, we then go into something slightly different, which is what we found is working exceptionally well, which is a virtual consultation. It is, all intents and purposes, exactly the same as this. It's your sales team having a conversation with the patient that's got in touch, but it's a virtual consultation, and you can dress this up by saying it's worth £50, speak to one of our experts free, all from the comfort of your home, for example. And the key thing here is to make sure it is free, but to also make sure it's only available within 4 days of booking. Otherwise, a week later, they'll forget exactly when that is. And you want to make sure while their emotion is high and they're ready to commit, we want to be booking them in as soon as possible. What this will also mean is switching from a form like this, where you track your cost per lead and then track your cost per booking. This effectively collapses both of those KPIs. So your cost per lead and your cost per booking would remain the same here. It will be effectively the same thing. So a good baseline target for this is around £50. And most importantly, once either this is booked in or this has been booked in, you hit them with SMS automation or email automation. That SMS goes out straight away as an acknowledgement. The email goes out straight away with an acknowledgement. 2 hours later, you send an email to say why you're the best clinic in the local area. 4 hours later, you give them social proof. So you send them patient testimonials. 6 hours later, you tell them exactly what to expect during the process, what the treatment looks like, and how it works specifically to this clinic. While you have the patient's attention, you should be absolutely being the authority figure and the education centerpiece, so they don't start looking and researching with your competitor down the road, because that is where the trust is lost. And we want to make sure that while you have their attention, they're absolutely adamant that you are going to be the clinic that delivers their dream outcome. Those email automations are really, really important. This also takes us into what the free consultation actually is. And that job is to get the conversion. So you've got the details of the patient. You now want to make sure they book in clinic with a pay-in consultation. So how do you do that? Well, you've got a sales team. The sales team ideally use a CRM like the one that we have, which is bespoke to clinics. And they can then therefore track the leads that come in, the pipeline that's there, the revenue. Multi-clinics have the options of choosing different clinic locations if they need to, and you have scripts as well. So your TCO, VCO, sales rep, reception team is able to go into the CRM, understand what conversion rates are working, who's attended, who's booked, and most importantly, what revenue is coming through from the CRM and from the leads. When they're having a conversation, they'll be filling out notes. This is a very simple generic form that we use, but this is eventually tailored to your clinic. And this is the form that they use to complete all the details around the patient that's got in touch. So either during the the virtual consultation or during the sales call itself, they're completing all these details and they are booking in. Now, our CRM does record all sales calls, and I'll touch on why that is so important just after I finish. And the reason why filling out this form is so important is because our CRM is able to send this natively into every single practice management system in the UK. So when Sarah is booked in and your associate sees Sarah, they know exactly what's been discussed on the sales call. So your associate can understand the cost, the pain that was discussed. They can understand the budgets that were discussed. They can understand what is the emotional outcome that Sarah is dreaming about, and that's her wedding, or a friend's wedding, a family wedding rather. And this is crucial because there's no wastage in your associate's consultation time. It protects their time as well. It builds trust, it builds authority. The show rates are almost 100% because your sales rep has done a great job of taking them from a free consultation into a paid consultation, and you've got the brief, and Sarah's arrived and she's felt looked after from the sales team all the way to the associate. And that is just a case of your associate just doing what they're best at that point. And one thing I would always advise on is a paid consultation that is redeemable against the final treatment book. Now, consider the average order value of your patient. A 90, 120, 150 pound consultation in the short term is attractive, but long term it's a risk for the patient that doesn't sign up. So make even that last point of contact as attractive as possible so that they are ready and willing to go into the clinic knowing that, yes, this is the treatment that I want to sign off. Invisalign is going to change my life. And it also does help getting the patients from a free consultation into a paid consultation. And to wrap up, the job of that is to get the treatment over the line and the patients in. So finally, to make this system airtight, because let's face it, the ads and the marketing agency that you're using are talking in one language. Your paid consultation and your associates in-house and your nurses are speaking in another language. Chances are you as a practice owner or as a clinic owner and your practice manager are probably trying to bridge both sides with a human touch. So they're asking the marketing agency, which ads should we optimize for? They're asking the associates, what was Sarah like when she came through? There was no real data between those two. So you need a CRM that bridges both sides. And earlier on, I spoke about the comparison against braces. So if you're considering Invisalign, but you're against braces, well, how do we know Sarah came from that? Is because it comes from our CRM. We know that Sarah clicked on this ad, which took her to this landing page, which then took her to book within one day. And that meant your virtual consultant spoke through 3 different things that made her finally sign off on the treatment. And because we can track this from the ad side into your clinic, we can also go backwards. So we can then start to understand, are there more Sarahs in the system that we can optimize our ad copies around, our creatives around? What was it during the sales call that Sarah spoke about? So we can start to increase your conversion rates in the sales team itself. So if you want to talk through how this patient buying journey works for your clinic specifically, the booking link in the description takes you directly to my calendar and you can book on for a free strategy call. In 30 minutes, you'll know exactly how to become the best clinic in your area.